Just doing a quick break. Slacking, just doing a quick run while I watch this video. Pull up this video. Let me see. So, alright, so first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Kakwadash. Second, I want to give double honors to the Apostle GMS that rule well. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect. And this is Shukakara from GMS, Virginia. Come back at you again. Now, as you can see, Salaki, this Houston spring break catastrophe. A lot of videos are being made out of it, and a lot of horrorish activity, wickedness, STI, HIV, STDs, and it's a bunch of nastiness. If you know what's going on and know the history of America, America has always had a place of freakiness, which always basically transpired, transferred, or moved. Be at one place for a particular moment, then they'll go to the next one. And now, you heard stories of the Freaknik, the tunnel, and etc. That's what comes to my mind now. The new thing, Atlanta, what you gonna call it? We understand what happens in Cali, and we understand what's going on in modern day Houston. Now, I just asked ChatGPT. Nothing to a lot of adultery. Adultery is when a woman that has a man mess around with another man, and when a man messes around with another man's woman. And if our people really understood the punishment of it, I would think you would consider. But let me see real quick. Let me see what this says. All right, so we understand, this is a whorish culture, a whorish country. They love whoredom. It goes back to, idolatry and, God worship, temple worship, etc. It goes hand to hand. This is why they push lewdness. This is why they push promiscuity. This is why they push for women's rights. This is why they push sexual liberation. So let me see something real quick. Titus 1, just like it. Titus 2, and just again, this is just AI overview. Just going to go over some points. So it says, so that this past Apostle Paul instructed Titus on how to teach sound doctrine, establish order among believers, especially focusing on men, women, and family structure. And we understand the 2/3 they're going to continue on. It's a sickness. It's a mental disorder which our people have, unfortunately. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick. Romans 1, favorite chapter, one of them. This is an NLT. Let me see what it says. So, you go up, it talks about how our people worship the creature, worship idols, etc., and worship the system. Verse 24, so Yahweh abandoned them to do whatever shameful things their hearts desired. And that's the 2/3, and this is why there's always videos coming out of people. so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics. Every day they go on doing about wickedness and doing stupid things. But this is why clearly, this is also an example of how not to act. This has all been, how you say, fueled by Christianity, etc., and the so-called white man and this infrastructure, this system, because this is what they push, degeneracy. So as a result, they did vile and degrading things with each other's bodies. So, women do who knows what, men do who knows what. And this is why STDs, nastiness, and filthiness, shame, etc., comes out of these things. I was watching a little snippet. They basically said, do it was like what? Basically, every part of the car was being used for sexual endeavors. You had two niggas and two girls up front. And you had two niggas and two girls in the back seat. The car just rocking back and forth. And there was no shame. And it said people were recording and photography and being a photographer. So this is what's going on amongst our people. This is why ultimately, the result of this is death. They traded the truth about Yahweh Shem Shah for a lie. So they worshipped and served the things Yahweh Shem Shah created instead of the creator himself, who is worthy of eternal praise. Amun. That is why Yahweh Bashim Yahushua abandoned them to their shameful desires. Even the women turned against the natural way to have sex and instead indulged in sex with each other. So here it is, since our people love this system and we understand Esau is the harbinger of sexual immorality, sexual liberation, pornography, etc. And our people love this system, so they indulge in it, even men. Even going back to the time of slavery, when men, so-called black men, were broken, buck broken, and the so-called black woman was created to be a whore. She was raped, etc., and basically sold off for sexual pleasures. And that same spirit is on our people, because Esau is basically your handler, your pimp. So even verse 27, and the men, instead of having normal sexual relations with women, burned with lust for each other. So, you know, you have a bunch of orgianic or orgies going on amongst our people. But overall, it continues on. Men did shameful things with other men, and as a result of this sin, they suffer within themselves the penalty they deserve. Because nothing can come from this, nothing but mental. What's the Nothing good can come from this mentally and psychologically. You know, when a woman has a bunch of sexual partners, she's ruined. And if a man, you know, just goes around messing with a lot of women, eventually he burns himself out. And what happens? He goes to going to the more nastier side, which goes into a man, basically Diddy. So it says, since they thought it was foolish to acknowledge Yahweh Shem Shah, which the 2/3 do, he abandoned them to do their foolish thinking and let them do the things that should never be done. So women walking around half naked and men just, sipping, thirsty, indulging in anything, whatever, however it goes, TLC matches, whatever, you know, basically the Lord allowed them to do so. So it says their lives became full of every kind of wickedness. And since our people love, and one thing for certain, Esau knows who we are. So Esau knows that, the Lord gave us a heightened sex drive to procreate, but Esau turned it and used it against us. So we're not even procreating, we're just having fun. And this is this causes pain and agony. Because look at, ever since my people integrated with the so-called white man, look at all our endeavors have caused our people to amount to. You going back to the sexual, no, not the sexual liberation, but after the civil rights movement, you had the black exploitation era, and all those harmful depicted images they pronounce on our people. So sin, greed, hate, envy, murder, quarreling, deception, malicious behavior, and gossip. And this is all intermingled with our people. And this is why our people, die every day, get murdered, gunned down, etc. So it says they are backstabbers, haters of Yahweh, Shah, insolent, proud, and boastful. They invent new ways of sinning and they disobey their parents. And because one thing for certain what's going on now, we don't even have parents. We have a bunch of grown ass children. They refuse to understand, break their promises, are heartless, and Jake's ready to crash out and have no mercy. They know Yahweh Shem Shah justice requires that those who do these things deserve to die. Well, they know now because, like the scripture says, if Yahweh Shah hadn't came and the Lord sent the prophets out last, so hey, there's no cloak for our people's sin. Yet they do them anyway. Worse yet, they encourage others to do them too. So, women tell women more so to indulge in this. Women are, how you say, one of the arbiters of getting women into selling selling themselves, using their box, selling their box for power and control in a surge and an urge of power. So basically women are the new pimps of women. And they coerce these girls to have fun, starting with the grandmothers, the mothers, and these average girls on the street, because they empower themselves in nastiness and wickedness. And these men, here it is, you don't understand what's going on. And men, yes, us men, we have a high testosterone, but you're supposed to use it wisely. You're supposed to have wives. And also you can have your concubines, but we're not in no type of structure to do these things. But overall, the point is, us as men, this structure is not for us, you know. But so these a lot of majority of these boys not being guided or led right, and you don't understand the so-called black woman is one of your biggest enemies, because she truly believes what she's doing isn't wrong, but ultimately she's destroying the so-called black man, not knowingly, you know, because you got to ask yourself, meditate sometimes. It's like, yo, you look at these so-called black women, they really truly believe that they're not doing anything wrong because their mothers vouch for it, the society vouches for it, their system vouches for it, the music vouches for it, and their peers. And the so-called black man being simple as hell, not having no power, structure, or wisdom, you think this is normal. That's why ultimately the so-called black man, he truly believes that the so-called black woman is supposed to talk to him bad. So going back to ChatGPT Titus 2, let me just going over some things. So Paul is telling Titus to teach what is healthy, true, and spiritually correct, not opinions or traditions, but doctrine that builds righteous living. So again, this is focusing on men, women, and family structure, and to the believers, which are who Israelites, not the 2/3, because the 2/3 are going to look at this and disregard it and think this is nothing, basically a joke. So it says sound, spiritually healthy, free from corruption. So let me see, jumping down. Instructions for older men, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith and charity and patience. So sober, clear-minded, disciplined, grave, serious, respectable, temperate, self-controlled, sound in faith, strong belief. So charity, acts with love, patience, endurance through trials. Let me see something. Bear with me. Older men are to be stable leaders and examples in character and faith. Verse 3, instructions for older women. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becoming holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things. So live in a way that reflects holiness, not slanderers, no gossip or false accusations, not controlled by addictions. And really, majority of our women are hurt and broken. They a lot majority didn't have fathers, and majority of the mothers were whores, and it's just a lot of things you can sit back and just ponder on. But a lot of our women are, they do certain things for the dopamine effect because they're hurt and they're broken, and it's really to cope with pain. Teachers of good things. Older women are meant to be spiritual role models and instructors, especially to younger women. So, teaching younger women, verse 4, that they might teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children. And see, you ask yourself, why are the STDs and HIV, etc., and why is this foolishness carrying on? Why? Because you older women, and majority of you older women and grandmothers, y'all are whores too, and y'all basically are fulfilling the rest of your whoredom and your nastiness throughout your the younger women. So it says, so ultimately, the reason why you see the so-called black woman just losing and looking bad, and you got the so-called Latina Hispanic women, right in the mix now. So-called Benjamite, so-called West Indian women, Caribbean women, and the reason why ultimately, everything is out of order is because women aren't sober. Women don't love their husbands, meaning one, or they don't love their children, and ultimately that's not taught in the household. It is not. It's no shame. It's not a standard. There's no image. There's no image. Then it's not. There's no reward. Esau broke that. So these women, they truly haven't been taught. They haven't been guided. They pretty much been taught to have fun in their younger ages. So sober, wise, self-control, love husbands, committed, supportive. So these one are these these girls of ours, these women of ours are supposed to be committed to their man and supportive, love children, nurturing and caring. These women are some of the most psychotic. A lot of these, like a lot of things, is coming out on these single mothers and how they have damaged these children, and this is why it's really starting since like the 19 late 80s, late 80s. No, I take that back. Pretty much from the Section 8 era on now, the so-called black women used their children as pawns. So they're not, you know, these women, majority of the time, you know, they, it's saying, the child was a pawn. Yes, some of us fell through the cracks, whatever, but that's need to say, you know, majority of these women, they they didn't nurture their child. They didn't bring them right, and they overly nurtured their sons, especially, and they're not caring to these children, and also especially these days. And again, remember, this what is it? The Section 8 era, and then the crack cocaine era, and then the basically be outside era. So discreet, modest, wise in behavior, chaste, morally pure, keepers at home, managers of the household. And again, we don't own anything. So hey, you're really not managing not a damn thing. You're really just, how you say, um, you're just living, you're just occupying. Because again, we live in a system. We're not sovereign. So it says good, kind, and character. These women are mean. They don't speak to you. They don't look at you. Obedient to their own husband, respectful order, and marriage. So let's go to modest, because I just saw a video about I saw another video about a Jake. basically talking about how, he's tired of seeing the so-called black woman just half naked. So, let me see. Number, let me see. One, not drawing attention to yourself might, modest in the Bible isn't just about covering skin. It's about avoiding clothing meant to attract sexual or excessive attention. And that's every woman's point, before or prior to them leaving their household, is to pretty much seduce men and tease men. So it says not overly revealing, tight, see-through, overly short, etc. Not designed to provoke lust. Because really, if you women really understood what goes through men's mind, you would cringe. But nonetheless, not meant to compete for attention. The focus is decency and dignity, not sensual display, and that's modest. Two shamefacedness and women that these women and men, none of us have it. Majority of the men and women of our nation don't have this anymore, and this is why our people are messed up. Humility and self-respect. This old word basically means a sense of shame and crossing moral boundaries, because of how women adorn themselves and broadcast themselves is unmoral, immoral. Even men sagging their jeans, etc. Men can dress. A woman carries herself with self-respect. She is aware of how she presents herself. She is not careless or bold in a way that invites inappropriate attention. And that's what our women do. They they go out their way to invite inappropriate attention. So it's about inner character showing outwardly. Sobriety, self-control, and balance. Sobriety here means sound judgment and moderation, not overly flashy or extravagant, which our women are, not obsessed with appearance, balance and discipline in how you dress. These it's so bad that these women, they're ass naked in front of children. They're literally showing their ass and their body parts in front of children. And honestly, if men would was walking around like women, and I'm not talking about like a woman, actual woman, but just have how women show their provocative. They wear provocative things to show their body parts. A man will get arrested, and he will be brought to that what is it sexual I forgot the place, but basically you would get a sex charge, and what is it, public and indecent exposure. But yeah, but again, our women of our nation, they don't care. They let it all hang out, and they don't care. They don't give a damn who see it, and it starts from home. Even in their household, they're basically arousing up the little kids. Hey, here it is. Your daughter looks up to you, and here it is. Your son, he's looking at you like, yo, what the hell's going on? And he's even being stimulated and don't know what the hell's going on. So yeah, man, these single mothers have a lot to pay for. For not about expensive or showy fashion. And we understand, majority of the time our women, they see, man, that shit even go back to the old days, even the 80s and the 70s, man. So the same passage warns against excessive jewelry, elaborate hairstyles, costly clothing used to show status. See that? And we all know what's clothes is hot right now, or back in the day. Y'all used to been around no women that you got to buy them the most like, costly clothing to talk to them or deal with them, or if they will stay with you. Basically, that hypergamous shit. So let me see something. I didn't mean to make this long, but it is what it is. So well, how did women dress in ancient times? Women's clothing in ancient times depended heavily on culture, climate, social role, but there were some common. Let me see. Jump it down. So in ancient Israel, biblical times, in ancient Israel, Old Testament times, women dressed modestly and simply. Long robes or tunics, often ankle length, loose fitting garments, not form fitting. Head coverings or veils were common, especially for married women. Layers, inner tunic, outer cloak, made from wool or linen. And it quotes 1 Timothy 2 and 9. So the focus was not on showing the body, but on covering and dignity. And so ancient Egyptian women had a slightly different style, wore a collar cirrus, a long sheath-like dress, often made of light linen due to the hot climate, could be form-fitting, especially among the wealthy. Jewelry and makeup were very important status symbols. So let me see. Compared to Israel, Egyptian clothing could be more body contoured, but still typically covered from chest to ankles. And ultimately, we were set apart from the Egyptians. Those, we all know those are Hamites, so we're not supposed to be like the other nations. So ancient Greek women wore elegant draped garments. So it's a chitin, if I'm saying it, chiton, light tunic or peplos, heavier garment. Fabric was draped and pinned, not sewn like modern clothes. Usually belted at the waist, covered the body, but could accent shape through draping. Greek style emphasized natural form and flow rather than tight tailoring. So ancient Roman women, especially married ones, wore stola, long dress, pola, a shawl or veil worn over the head or shoulders. Multiple layers cover most of the body. So the stola symbolized respectability and marital status. So key patterns across ancient cultures. Across most ancient society, women's clothing shared these traits: long and covering, ankles, chest, often arms, um, loose or draped, not tight like modern fashion, layered garments, head coverings in many cultures, natural fabrics, linen and wool. Let me see. So basically, that's the point. These women are modest. They don't carry themselves in no shape or fashion that way. These women, they're just out here, and then they're always wondering why they're single or why bad things constantly happen to them and why they're not getting nowhere. And also, you men, you don't realize, you're not dealing with a woman, you're not dealing with a wife, you're dealing with a whore, you're dealing with a harlot, because these are all the traits. When you go to these cities and you go to these big functions and you go into the club, that's not a woman that's not a wife. That's a harlot. That's a woman that's looking to get her attention or dopamine or and possibly come across another body. If you're fitting, if that man suits whatever her liking is during that moment, that feeling point, she will, engage, and he'll engage, and they'll lay down with each other, and nothing comes out of it. Sometimes either a baby or either STD or maybe a couple more flings, and it just burns out because our people aren't coming together for Yahweh and Rashad or for the nation. They're just typically doing it for a good, basically a pleasurable time, to feel good, to for men can have bragging rights, and even women. So it's all a mess here in America. But I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing down, wrap this thing up. Those who use that, if I with them, say shalom.